Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're going for a ride and a talk. So I was talking to a client the other day, and I thought it was really interesting because we were talking about her family that's narcissistic, and so we're kind of going through some things that she could do to kind of make things easier, a little bit better, not so hard, not so complicated. And on her own, she a few months ago decided to kind of take a big step back from her family, just because she was like, it can be really overwhelming. It can be, and they have a lot of birthdays in her family in the summertime, so she was kind of like, oh my gosh, this just makes it even more kind of like crowded. Everybody's trying to do things together. There's a lot of birthday parties. The children and grandchildren have a lot of birthdays during this time frame, so it can be very, very, very overwhelming, not only for her but for her family. And she was telling me that she's always considered herself kind of like the scapegoat in the family. Like, anytime anything goes wrong, even if she had nothing to do with it, everybody blames her. And so I was kind of like, I can understand that. I have felt that way in my family at times. And so we were kind of just chatting about this, but she was telling me that when she did this, kind of took a step back. Prior to that, all of her brothers and sisters were like, we don't know what you're talking about. Mom's always positive and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, when she started taking a step back, things started to change. Now her brothers and sisters are kind of like, we can see your side of it. And she was just like, I didn't take 100% step back and like not do anything with the family. But she said, I did like a 90% step back. I did just what I felt like I really, 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 really wanted to do, and everything else I just left. I just told them I have other plans, or I'm not feeling well. And so she said it was very interesting for her because the rest of her brothers and sisters have never seen that of, like, oh, we don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Mom is always so sweet and so kind and all that kind of stuff. She can get a little grumpy at times, but, kind of nothing major. And when she stepped back, she was like, I guess she doesn't have another outlet for all of her anger or frustration or anything else. And so now her brothers and sisters are singing a different song, a completely different, like, okay, now we can see what you're talking about. Yeah. She was like, and she goes, I haven't taken 100% step back, but 90% was enough to kind of get them to see her side of it. And just kind of like, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I have been dealing with for years. My client's in her late 40s, and her older brother is in his like mid 50s, and a lot of the other ones are like in the 40s. I think there's one maybe in the late 30s, maybe early 30s or early 40s, something like that. But she was just like, of course they don't know what she's talking about, because she's always been the scapegoat. She's always been, I have like one hair driving me a little crazy today. She's always been the scapegoat. It's always been her fault. Anything goes wrong, it's like, blame it on her, blame it on her, blame it on her. And so she was just like, wow, what a different tune that her brothers and sisters are saying now that she has kind of like, this is interesting. I didn't expect this. I did not expect this at all. And so that was kind of one of those interesting stories of just kind of like taking a step back from her family changed everything. Everything changed around her family. Prior to that, her family was always blah, 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 blah. We don't get what you're talking about. Yes, we know Mom can be temperamental at times and blah, 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 but never to the extent that what she's talking about, or never to the, oh yeah, we know exactly what you're talking about. And then she was like, after 3 or 4 months of this, the family's singing a different tune. A completely different tune. And so we talked about kind of like some of what are her options in all of this. What is it that she really wants to get out of this? Does she, besides her family kind of getting on board, her brothers and sisters, and not necessarily going against her mom, but just kind of like seeing it from what she's been dealing with. So it's kind of like, what do you want out of this? And so that's kind of the good part of this, is kind of like, now that they're seeing this side of Mom. And I said, because a lot of times, like, they may only have seen it for a period of time, or only was the not favorite child for a period of time, but for the most part, they haven't been the scapegoat, the one that everybody blames all the time. And so she was like, Interesting. So she is still in the deciding phase of what is it, and that's kind of an interesting part of a story is when you're dealing with the narcissistic energy and no one else is believing you, when you're going like, they're this, they're this, they're this, and no one else is believing you, sometimes getting out of the situation for a period of time can be very healthy and kind of like very eye-opening for everybody else, because you've been that scapegoat or you've been the person everybody blames, and now they don't have that person to blame. Well, we can't blame her because she wasn't here. We can't blame her because she, you know what I'm saying, or he wasn't here, or she wasn't there. And so it kind of changes how you deal with everything else. And that's the important part of like, how is this family going to work through this? And it's not necessarily, you know, up to her brothers and sisters. Like, what do you want out of this? How do you want this to come about? How do you want this to play out? And I said, but you could also just stay at the 90% level and just cut it off there. And she goes, I don't know what she's going to do. But that's the good part. That's the fun part, is that she gets to now decide how much she wants to be around her mother's energy or her narcissistic family. Because even when she's been over there over the last few months, if she's there, all the blame goes back on her, and everybody else is like, I don't see it anymore. She's so nice and kind. It's like, yeah, because I'm the scapegoat. I'm the person that gets blamed for all of this. It's my fault I didn't get enough ice. It's my fault I didn't order enough of the drinks, or I didn't bring enough of whatever it is. And so she was like, this is what I've been dealing with, and now they get to see it. And I said, that's a good thing that they're seeing it. But I said, I guarantee you, if you step back at 100%, they would go back into that denial of like, oh no, oh yeah, that was just for a little bit of time. She must have been extra stressed, because that's kind of the way they've been trained by the rest of the family, is to not hang on to it and not hold on to it and just allow that to go. Oh, it's not a big deal. It's not a problem, because it's not a problem for them. They're not the ones that's being blamed for everything that goes wrong. They're the ones that aren't being blamed for anything else. And so, yeah, it's easy for them to go through that. But the power is always in the moment. What is the power that you require at the moment? And for my client, the power was to step back for a while and not be as accessible to her family as she has been in the past. And that has done wonders for her. It has done wonders for her self-esteem. It has done wonders for her self-acceptance. It's done wonders for just feeling like I can take a breath. I am not feeling like I'm being attacked all the time. Dealing with a narcissistic can be really hard, heavy energy, and it's really important that if you know of someone who's going through that, to kind of just really listen to them. Sometimes that's really just what they require, is someone to step up and listen to what they're going through. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.